gosh, I don't know why my computer. I don't know what the deal is, but listen, I plugged it in, which I know has been an issue before, and I've got my headphones, and I'm in a place with presumably a solid internet connection.
You're checking all the boxes in theory.
I'm trying. I've got. Where's my holy water? Just kidding.
That's right. The only other explanation is demonic.
Yeah.
All right. Well. Oh gosh, listeners, hello everyone. And welcome to our season finale of season 5.
We made it. We made it, everybody.
Right now, it is Elizabeth, Grant, Becca, and I. And Ashley will be popping in a little bit. There was a bit of confusion on scheduling, which I always get mixed up which co-hosts are in Central Time and which ones are in Eastern. Thankfully, we're only dealing with 2 time zones, and yet
that's true.
And yet, I still mix it up.
That's okay.
Two's enough.
Yeah. So Henry will hopefully be popping in at some point.
Henry's had a day, apparently.
Henry's had a day.
Wow.
There is grace. Grace abounds.
But I'm glad that it's us. Grant, I feel like it's been a moment since I've gotten to talk to you on or off there.
I know.
Yes, I've had a crazy semester with grad school because I had an internship and 5 classes.
Wow.
But
Henry!
Hello.
You're here.
I am.
Girl. There he is.
I built my sister's house because of the whole surgery thing, but I am in the guest room, so I'm sitting here.
Okay.
I was like, I'm not missing it. I was like, I gotta pop in. I was like, I'm not.
You gotta pop in. You gotta.
I was like, my FOMO is not letting me miss this. So
that's right.
We just started.
Yeah.
And what do you have a cup of over there, Henry?
You have a what?
What do you have a cup of? You had a cup? Okay. Cheers, my friend.
Becca. Solo cup, yes.
Mine has life cereal in it. So yeah. I have my beverage in a Dollar Tree lemon juice glass.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
We are highfalutin over here tonight.
Mine would be in a flute, but if I was at my own house, but I'd make do with what I can. So
that's right. Sure. You work with what you got.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm missing Ashley, right?
Ashley is going to be on her way. There was a little bit of confused time zones. I forgot that she was in Central. Anyway, we're going to be here. So she will be coming in a bit once the mascot goes to sleep.
It's also the first time I think all of us have talked in God knows how long.
That's what we were just saying.
Yeah, I was like, this is the first time I've talked to Grant on or off the podcast in I don't know.
I think this is the first time anyone's talked to Grant because 5 classes. What?
I had a lot to do this semester, but it's over, and now I'm sort of unraveling all the needs I have throughout the semester that I couldn't get met, like sleep and stuff like that. So sanity. Sanity and catching up on all of it.
Breathing,
It's so good to see you guys. I love you
saving
so
your face.
much.
Look at you, Miss Mama.
I know.
Yes, look at your face. I love it.
I know. All grown up.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, my head is gonna get so big. My hats aren't gonna fit.
Oh God, you with an ego? Never.
Anyway, how are you, Henry?
Yes,
I'm good. I was just about to share something about my personal life, but we can share it offline. So.
I've been waiting, Henry. I've been waiting for my picture, by the way.
Oh yeah, I told you I was going to send you one. Yeah.
Yes.
Josh knows. I told Liz, and then Nate was like, "I want the tea." So Nate stayed on to get the tea. But yes,
that's amazing.
recording this, when this recording ends, I will update y'all.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I can't wait for it.
We're waiting.
Well, we're here for the season finale on season 5.
Crazy.
Talking about reclaiming. And to refresh us all, because I know none of us remember this whirlwind of a year, let alone a season.
Preach.
I'm just like, what did we cover? So we obviously did our intro on reclaiming. Grant and Elizabeth talked about reclaiming intimacy at QCF.
That's right. Grant, that was a whole lifetime ago.
Yes. It was so good. I loved it so much. But
that
it was
Wait, okay, that means that the season really was fresh out, right?
It was fresh.
Okay,
it was fresh.
We started this. Okay, this is about the longest season, right? That it's taken to do a season.
Yeah, I feel like that QCF was in like 2016. Yeah, it was a really long time ago.
The funny part is, it feels like it's taken forever to make this season happen, and yet this is probably one of the shortest seasons we've done.
Wow. Yeah, it's been a year.
And we've just all been crazy busy this year.
It's true. Yeah.
How many episodes?
Sorry,
Nick. How many episodes did we do this season?
We did 15. It's the shortest season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I call it, 16 count. Well, no, wait, 15, 16, 17. Sorry, 17. I'm looking at what's on right now, and there's one more episode, and then there's this episode coming out. So it's 17 altogether.
17 total.
The next shortest one was season 1.
So good.
Yeah. Okay, you did more.
It's still really good.
We did more in season 1. It was 19 episodes in season 1.
Okay. That's a lot of work.
Well, when it's really good, you don't need a lot. You don't want
to
right.
You don't want to overwhelm us.
That's right.
I always say that on my other podcast. People are like, why don't you and Tony put out more episodes? I'm like, if I give you what's good, I can give you 6 and you'll be fine. Like, I don't need to give you 15.
Leave people wanting more.
Quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That magical number.
Grant, that episode with you, that brought out my inner Oprah. I really felt like I was so like...
Good. Something switched within you, and you did really, really well. It was so good.
Yeah. It was fun, but your answers were inspiring whenever I was interviewing you for the entire episode. But really, that was a fun time.
I feel like that set the trajectory of this whole year for me. It was so like what we talked about there was so good. So I've got to re-listen to it. I got to recenter, come back to myself after this semester. But
I know. Then we had Henry and Grant talked about reclaiming masculinity.
I still get messages about that episode.
I feel like we said like 15% of what we could have said on that topic. I think we stopped so early. I
think the most fascinating part of the discussion that came from that episode was the amount of discussion in our Discord, in our online and it's ironic that it was on the reclaiming masculinity part, the discussion of you guys using the term girl as a term of endearment.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and I was like, I love that this is part of the discussion for the masculinity episode.
Yes. Yeah. And oh my God, what did we say that we were the active homosexuals? Is that what we said, Grant?
Yes.
Love it.
Oh gosh,
it's my favorite phrase to come out of this season.
Active homosexuals.
Yeah.
I was talking with a friend recently, and I used the word she to talk about someone I didn't know. And then I was like, wait a minute, I actually don't know their pronouns. And he said, oh, well, you said she. So like, if it's a gay man, that counts too.
Perfect.
I did actually see a really great TikTok video recently about how if dude and bro can be gender neutral, then we need to allow for cis and girl to be gender neutral.
I mean,
that makes sense.
I think it's good.
Girl all the time. Sometimes not even thinking about it because I'm just like, whatever. At this point in time.
Yes.
In some weird connected way, this is actually a part of my proposal for my dissertation that I've finally put a pin in a little bit.
Okay.
And I won't go into the whole nitty gritty, but essentially it's the idea is a theology of kinship, and I'm doing an anthropological kind of study in theology, looking at queer communities of color and the idea of family in queer communities of color, and the significance of the role of mother, and how mothers is gender neutral.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so when we think about this position of mother and compare that to the character of God as mother in this gender neutral spiritual sense.
Ooh, can you finish writing this already?
Yeah.
Girl, speaking of girl, you gotta give me
That's
a
gonna
year.
be so good.
Let me get through my current paper now, and then I'll call you. But I'm excited. I'll call you up, Henry. I got to do some interviews, so you'll be on my roster.
That sounds like a Revoice 2025 keynote. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
We shall see. We shall see.
Love that.
All right, then we have Ashley, Elizabeth, and I talked about reclaiming femininity.
That was fantastic.
That was great.
Ashley's perspective on that was something I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And so that was good.
Yes. Then we got into our 4-part thing of the gospel. So we had Ashley, Grant, and I talked about creation. Jacob, Becca, and I talked about sin. Henry, Elizabeth, and then I joined in, talked about justification.
That
was wild.
And then Becca and Grant talked about glorification.
And that one, I feel like that one we were just spitballing too. We were just like, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this.
I love a good speculation conversation. I mean, that's that series, I mean, it gets like my winner vote for the coolest thing that I think we've done.
Yeah, because the 4-part of it, like it all somehow, like, obviously with that movie, like it led from one to the other, and like I felt like we were referencing. It's like, oh well, they talked about
yes.
Yeah. Sometimes without even having listened, there would be ways that one of the co-hosts on one podcast would be like, I haven't listened to the other one, and I'm like, you are hitting it perfectly. Like it's just building, and I still want to, which is then why you guys will all have to listen to this episode if I can attempt to do it. I'm going to attempt, Grant, to do what we talked about of taking clips from those 4 episodes and creating like the gospel queer message.
Ooh.
And then put a lo-fi beat over it and release that single.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There was just Becca, I agree with you. That was, as we were doing it, for me, I was like, this is gold. This is gold. The ways that we engaged with creation and sin and justification and glory, and just like, it was very visionary in my brain.
I think with this season being like, we were all in probably the most distant or just separate places we've all been as a collective 6. Yeah. But it somehow still felt to me like the most cohesive season the thread that we were weaving throughout. And so I felt connected to this season probably in more ways than I had in either seasons, even though we were all less involved in certain ways this season.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, I feel like all of us were just so busy. This season.
So busy.
Yeah, but I think the theme was powerful this season. Like the reclaiming is just, I think it's something that all of us think about intuitively just as we walk through our lives. So to kind of like put it in words and to really be intentional about what does this look like for real. I think it was really, even though we were all crazy and all over the place and barely showed up for our recording, when we were here, like we were just like, we were here.
Do we remember at the beginning of the season where I was like, I don't know what they're talking about this theme is, because like I wasn't at the retreat we had.
Yes.
So I was like, what are they talking about?
You didn't even know a single episode. You're like, which ones am I doing?
Yeah.
What? I was like, did I like sleep through an entire call? I was like, oh no, that's when Preston Sprinkle had me stuck in Boise. And so I was
oh yes. That does feel like 2 years ago. I don't know what we're
I saw you and you left and you flew to the podcast.
To the retreat, yes.
Oh, gosh.
Crazy.
Anyways.
Then we had our revoice recording on Pride, Reclaiming Pride.
Yes.
That was a fun conversation.
And Jacob, Jacob was an amazing little host for that episode.
He channeled Oprah for that one.
He did.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. His questions were great. You know? Oh,
I've loved seeing him in his own. He was in Fort Worth a couple months ago. And so we went and got ice cream and something together. And just like, even from the past couple of years, seeing how his first of all, I'm like, you're a little bit too sassy for me right now.
He is sassy. He is sassy.
He is, I mean, if there was anybody outside of Jesus that he worships, it's absolutely Becca Mason. He literally...
The feeling is mutual. I love that child.
So sweet. It's so sweet.
Then we had Henry and Becca on Reclaiming Family.
Love that conversation.
We were crying. I mean, that was
wow.
good.
Yeah. And then Henry and I talked about Reclaiming Grace and Truth, which that was an episode I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but I loved that conversation.
Same. Because
I just listened to it again the other day, and it was so good.
Oh, yeah. I felt like we were all over the place a little bit, but then, like, it landed. I listened to it back, and then a couple people responded to it, and I was just like, you know what? That actually worked. So,
yeah. Then Julia Sadesky came on, and I talked to her about talking to your kids about sex.
That was great.
I was not expecting the conversation to turn that way, because we were really planning the episode to be a bit more on the book on gender identity and faith. And then she was like, well, I'm also coming out with a new book. And as I started to explore her new book, I was like, oh my gosh. I realized how many times we get questions about that. And so it might not have, I really, now looking back on it, I wish I would have called it Reclaiming the Sex Talk.
Oh yeah.
Because
yeah.
I feel like
there we go. We just did it.
Just change it. Yeah.
I'm just going to change it. Because I feel like that's what we were doing. We were going back to how that talk has been engaged with, and then getting to see how do we like actually make that something healing for children.
That's beautiful.
And then we had we got into some interviews finally, which is crazy. Well, because Julia Sadesky was our first interview, which is so funny for this season. Because then we had Alex Shippey and Janelle Look on to talk about prayer ministry.
Yeah.
Killed it. And then Eve came on to talk about sanctification and spiritual growth, which felt like a continuation of the gospel conversation in so many ways. And then we had Ed Shaw on to talk about reclaiming identity, and then Nate Collins to talk about reclaiming joy, which as of the moment of this recording hasn't come out yet.
That was Elizabeth. What did you? I actually really enjoyed that episode. Not that I didn't think I would, but I actually really enjoyed it. No, because sometimes Nate is one of these talks, and I've said this to him before. Sometimes you don't know where Nate's going to take a conversation, and so it's like, oh God, where is he going to drive this to? Not in like a bad way, but it's like, I don't know where this is going to go. But like, I felt like Nate was like, once Elizabeth threw him a couple of questions, like he was ready to talk about it. I really enjoyed the perspective on it. So.
It was great. And I felt like he shared a lot of really vulnerable stuff.
Yeah, more than I was expecting.
Yeah, me too. And I was really moved by that level of vulnerability. And I felt like he was reclaiming something in that episode, right?
Yes. When they talk to you about the
conference.
And I was like in my guest room, and I was like, oh my gosh, like Nate is having a moment with Elizabeth and I right now. It was good.
Yeah.
When it comes out, it was good.
I can't wait to edit it, because I remember you guys recorded that on my birthday, and I was like, y'all, I can't be in this.
Oh yes, that's
Have fun.
Oh my God. The thing is, we tried to wish Josh happy birthday. I was like, oh, wait, it's his birthday. Then you logged off right when I said it. So me and Nate are like, oh, sorry.
It was, go ahead.
That was nuts. I forgot my dad was also in the hospital. Remember?
That's right. Yes.
God.
So I was like literally in the middle of the episode, I'm mouthing to Henry, I take
oh no.
Like
so like I ask a question, or I started to answer. I was like, guys, I'm about to share something. I've never said this publicly before.
It was like,
season-ending cliffhanger right there.
It's like Elizabeth walks out, She's like, I might have to rent a car to go drive because my dad's in the hospital. But okay, Nate, next question. I was
Oh my god.
He's good, y'all. He's all
Insane.
right. He's okay. He's back
Well,
home.
we're glad for that. We are glad for that. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like too I do agree with you, Elizabeth, that the whole reclaiming season, the theme, it's just been just the theme of the year in so many ways. I feel like in my life, like with all the changes that have happened and all of these things that are going on, there's been a lot of memorable moments in all of these episodes, and I feel like it's taken a lot of aspects of the last few seasons and brought them into a new light, you know, like building in all of that.
real quick.
Yeah.
I just sent in a chat privately to all y'all. So I'm gonna step out for a second. I sent a chat as to why, but I'll be back. So
okay. Yep.
Okay. Did it actually go to anyone? It said like a secret chat. So I don't know if that
okay. We got it.
I think AI is about to read it though on the recording. Oh. That's a part of the feature.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'll make sure to keep it in.
Talk about a season finale cliffhanger. That would be
right.
Well, ironically, right with that, I was going to talk about one of the things that was most impactful for me in this season was actually, it probably didn't catch a lot of people's attention, but it was the first time. It was the first time I've ever actually mentioned publicly that I have a partner.
Yes, I was on. Was I on that?
It was you and me talking to Ed Shaw.
Yes,
just so casually.
I know, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to comment on it. I'm just going to pretend like we all knew about this.
Yeah. I had talked with Christian about, I feel like it's time to like, it's one of those secrets that everyone knows kind of thing. And I don't want to make it a big deal. So I don't want to make it as if it needs an announcement. So I was like, whenever it ends up coming up, whenever it feels like it's like a natural thing to share, I'm going to do it. But then it was also a thing that I shared it so naturally that then when the episode came out, people were like, Josh, how do you feel? Like you just shared this. And I was like, oh, I haven't actually like thought about that. Like it's definitely a thing. And I think it's been a very integrated feeling of like, oh, parts of life coming together. So that's been a bit more of on a personal side, but something that I've enjoyed through that.
Yes. Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's another coming out.
Yeah. It's a coming out. Yeah.
It's a coming out for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any other takeaways you guys have taken from this theme or this season that you would like to share?
I think it's just been impactful in general, talking about that idea of reclaiming, because it's something that we talk about. Like, it can almost seem joking sometimes, like when we're going to say something, we're like, I'm going to reclaim whatever it might be. And I've realized that kind of conversation in the past has almost been like a defense mechanism, that like, we know we have to work on this or we got to do this. And so I'm just going to reclaim it. But like, we actually did that through these episodes this season.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of healing on my part, at least, that I didn't even realize things that needed to heal. That I would just find myself like mowing the grass, sobbing, listening to one of the episodes, you know, that it was like, I didn't even know that needed to be healed. And here we are healing stuff out in the yard.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I relate to that because I feel like I've cried on the podcast more this season than I have ever before. Like at the Pride episode in Revoice and talking about like our experiences with Pride and stuff. And I remember re-listening back to that and I'm like, oh my gosh, the emotions I had in this episode.
Yeah.
I've
been thinking about honestly coming from the interview we did with Nate, just the idea how sacred and important reclaiming is in acknowledging that something has been robbed from us. And I think like where we're at when we're in the moment of reclaiming is thinking about our own experience and like, okay, how do we get this back? How do we fix fix this thing or whatever? And I think that episode really reminded me, like, an aspect of reclaiming is also acknowledging that someone, something took something away.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like needed to kind of lament that a little bit. Like, someone took something from me, and in the act of reclaiming it, I'm like embodying and like I don't know what the word is. Like I'm demanding that something is mine, that it's rightfully mine.
Yeah.
And I think that's been really impactful and special to me, that like I'm not trying to fit something into the box of myself that never belonged. I'm not trying to coerce something. I'm literally putting what is rightfully mine back in its place.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And that's been a beautiful act this season.
That's so good. It reminds me of I had a conversation with a friend a couple years ago, and he used a passage, I think it's from Joel, about how all the years the locusts ate, God is going to give back to you. And he used that as an image to talk about like all the years the closet took away from him. God is giving back to him in a new way, an unexpected way. And I think that's been a lot of this season, has been like, it's not even just that we're reclaiming, it's that God is doing something new and unexpected with our loss. Yeah, and that's really exciting. It's not like just a sheer act of the will that we're taking it back. I mean, that's definitely part of it, but God is taking those parts of us back and giving it back to us, which I think is so beautiful.
Yeah, I was reflecting on this topic a bit last month because I was preaching at my church on gratitude around Thanksgiving, and I was like trying to figure out how to engage with this, especially in a community like mine where you have so many people that have been traumatized by faith. And of course I got the verse of like, be thankful in all circumstances kind of thing. And one of the things that I was processing as I was putting together the sermon was really related to what you were talking about, Elizabeth, that you first have to acknowledge that like something bad has happened. And that gratitude, and I would also say reclaiming in that same way, starts with the idea of going like, this happened and there's no going back to life before it. Like life before it is not happening. But the gratitude and reclaiming come from the fact of saying, but this awful thing that happened, whatever they tried to do, does not get to stop life from being good again. And I will bring goodness into life in this point. And there will be peace and joy and love in this, regardless of what happened. And building that anew, it's going to look different than it would have if it had never happened. But being able to acknowledge it, as you said, and also accept, okay, there's no going back to the before, but I can do something new now. And I think that reclaims it, is that beginning moment of reclaiming, to see what God has, ahead for us in all of these things. Yeah. I know we had so many more topics for the season, but then even just how it went, I was like, I think we've covered a lot. We could cover so many more. But there was
I think it also it speaks to just the whole process of reclaiming, that it's a journey. Like, there is so much more we could talk about because we're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So with that, then, I was hoping that we would have everyone here when we would start talking about this, but the next season, I think it's.
Is it time to talk about the next season already?
Unless y'all do you have more things you want to say about reclaiming? Because we can also come back to reclaiming, or we can talk about it here. I didn't want to cut into it, but it felt like a natural spot. We're sitting in here processing because we have some news to share with you all. After a lot of discernment and prayer, it's been decided that next season will be the last season of Life on Side B. And I want to qualify with this. This is not meaning that this is the last time we will ever be on podcasts together, or that any of us are doing anything, or all of that things. There will be podcasts.
We ain't going nowhere.
No.
That's right.
But this iteration of these conversations is coming to an end. And I think that it's really a fulfillment of it. I've always had in my brain since starting this. It's gone on, y'all. It's gone on longer than I thought this was going to go. Yeah. And I like to be able to not drag things out longer than they should, and be able to allow things like that whole thing, quantity over quality over quantity.
That's right.
That's right.
And I feel like I've been especially the one going, y'all, I think we need to stop. I think we need to end.
Yeah.
And everyone else has been like, no, we don't. And I'm like, but I think we do.
Yeah. I think,
but also it's easier for. Yeah, that's true, Grant. And it's easy for us to be like, no, because we're not doing all the back end work also,
that's right,
Josh. So
we get together and have great conversations, and then are like, all right, you have fun with that 6 hours of production you got to do on that.
Yeah, it's just been between the scheduling and the editing and all these things. I was like, I think this iteration is done, because I think especially because I have began to focus a bit more on understanding the importance of seeing the longevity of things and the longevity of preserving my passion. And I don't want my passion to die.
Yes.
So we still have another season, and we'll explain a little bit more about that. But first of all, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the fact that next season will be the last season. How have you all felt with this?
I think one thing that strikes me when I think about Life on Side B entering its final season is I've just changed so much. And what I've always loved about this podcast has been that it's not polished, and it's not there's a ton of loose ends, and it's very organic. And I think for a lot of people it really feels like a group of friends that talk, that get together and talk sometimes. And I think it's been so fun to not have a super polished project that I have to spend a lot of time thinking through exactly what I want to say, but it's a place where I can show up and I can be exactly who I am, and I can talk about what exactly is on my mind. And over the past few years, I've changed and grown so much, and the podcast has been a place where I can come and be who I am in that moment with you all. And that's been a real gift. And by you all, I don't just mean the co-host. I mean listeners too. I'm really honored that there are people who listen to us just ramble, and especially Henry. We can trash talk him because he's not here.
That's right.
Yeah, for anyone who hasn't noticed, he stepped away for a moment. I think he said
you've noticed.
You've noticed.
Yes, you've noticed. Can you imagine him not saying anything for 5 minutes? Anyway, that was really shady. He's gonna talk to me after this. Yeah, I don't know. I've really enjoyed having this as a part of my life. So thank you guys, and thank you all who are listening. So
yeah, I thought that same thing about you, Grant, listening to one of the episodes earlier this season. I was like, he is just come into his own right before our very eyes, and it was a special little moment. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it has been, at first I was like, no, because this is like one of the things that I love doing just in general. I mean, just getting to sit and to talk about all these great things and the people that we've been able to meet and have these discussions with, and the relationships that we've grown with one another. But I mean, like, really just the personal impact of everything is what made me initially so sad thinking about it, because this podcast has been such a huge part of like challenge and growth and conviction, and helping me hold my beliefs loosely to be able to filter through like what is just my having grown up in a deeply homophobic Southern Baptist in the South environment. What is just that leftover legalism and internalized homophobia and all of that stuff, and what is actually some biblical truth.
Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
How mad are you at me?
So chaotic.
I see that face. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm intimidated, and I am a teacher that gives the teacher look, but the look that Ashley is giving Josh right now makes me a little scared.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I really am.
I know.
Doesn't change anything, but I'm glad you're sorry. Yeah.
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 Where's Henry?
He was in here. He popped in late and then he popped out and then he says he's coming back. So
we'll see.
Yeah. He's working us into his social calendar.
Yeah. So we're talking about the next season right now. I would love to. I want to continue in this thread, but I also in a little bit want to come back because I want to hear your thoughts on this past season and everything. But we're talking about we've made the announcement that we're not coming back. Like next season is the last season. So Becca was sharing a little bit of her thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, but having an intentional time where it's like, I know this is going to be an hour or an hour and a half that like I'm going to be challenged on something, or I'm going to have to spend some time in a prayer closet talking with Jesus about what I used to think about whatever the thing was, or it's just been really good to have that intentional time. And so a little heartbroken to begin with, thinking, oh, I don't really know how I'm going to get that anymore.
Yeah.
It's been kind of sad. But at the same time, I get that seasons come and seasons go. And I think this year of 2023 showed that we are maxed out in a lot of ways. And knowing when to leave the people so that they still actually want to hear our voices is probably an important thing. We're leaving people wanting more instead of being worn out with us.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that encourages me as we go forward is the very fact that when I first came up with the idea for Life on Side B, it actually was the fact that I had gone to QCF and they had a podcast stage. And I was like, why don't you have any Side B podcasts there? And they're like, well, tell us.
Yeah.
And at the time, and there just wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot. And so, and on top of that, just there was a lot of ways that I felt the conversations were not as vulnerable and as real and as practical as we could get. Also that, I mean, they still are very, cisgender white male centered, but they were even more even 5 or 6 years ago, and saying, how can we open this conversation up? And I think it's been really encouraging to me, first of all, that there's been even more podcasts that have started over the last few years. More voices have entered. I feel like the conversations have just opened up even outside of this. It makes me encouraged to know that it doesn't rely on us six to have these conversations, But yeah, Elizabeth, Ashley, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. How do you feel that like next season is the last season?
I can share, but Ashley, you haven't gotten to talk yet, so I was giving you some space if you wanted to jump in.
Oh, okay. I heard like a noise. And I wasn't sure where it was coming from.
It's Ashley, my husband talking really loudly. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. It happens.
Yeah, Ashley, how do you feel?
Kind of like what Becca was saying is like I feel like we could see to a certain extent that the end was coming. I feel like I don't think we realized that at first, because when we planned this season, we had like so many ideas and we were ready to do so many things, and I feel like this season was surprising in a lot of ways. Like a lot of really great episodes came out of it, and it was kind of stuff that we just threw out there and ended up doing, and it turned out really great. But as the season progressed, and you had mentioned it a couple times, like maybe this would be, and it was like actually, I was like, it feels like it is coming to that point, as much as none of us may want it to. If it just felt kind of like Becca was saying, like this, you could feel the seasons changing. You didn't know when it was coming or what was going to happen, but you could feel things moving in a different way. Everyone, I feel like we're all in different stages of life than we were when we started this.
Yes.
And we're doing different things and in different challenges of life. And I'm really glad that at the same time that when we started in this conversation, there weren't a lot of voices. And in a sense, like in the time now that we are leading, there are.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I really like, and I will always like that, like you said, that vulnerability that we brought to it. Like we always said, these were in-house conversations. These weren't necessarily for all of like our straight pastors and parents and everything. Like a lot of resources are, and they can listen. They're welcome to be here. But in that sense, it's like we're not a guest in their house; they're a guest in ours. Yeah. And I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I still very much see myself as the newbie, because I was the last new addition to the podcast crew, which has been such an honor. And it feels like it was just yesterday, because it basically was, when I was listening to this podcast and like talking to myself as if I was one of the co-hosts, on the elliptical, being like, and what about this? And they didn't mention that. And if I was there, I would have said da da da. And then I find myself here, which is just been such an honor. And it makes me have such a connection to our listeners, because I spent most of my time being a listener. So I think what makes me sad is I know that there are people out there that this is going to be hard for. Like, I want to just talk about all the good things and talk about, all the accurate things everyone has already mentioned, that it seemed fitting in the right time. And we want to end on a high note. But at the same time, I know that this is going to be a loss. Because if I didn't have you guys on my elliptical, times 2 years ago, then I don't know where I'd be today. So I'm grateful for each of your voices. I'm grateful that I could be a part of the community of voices here. And yeah, I think Life on Side B has given me the opportunity to be vulnerable in ways that I also didn't expect. I feel like almost every episode I've been on, I either say to myself or have said out loud, I didn't think I was going to say this, but and then I share something that I've like never told a soul, or, I'm still processing myself. And I've seen a growth in my own queer identity because of Life on Side B. I feel affirmed in who I am because of the things that you all have spoken into my life, or the ways that our guests have come in and just shared such wisdom. So I'm truly going to miss that. But I think there is a truth to when a door closes, another one opens, or a window opens. Like, I don't know exactly what that means and what that'll look like, but I think there is an opportunity for all of us, listeners included, to see like what's the next place that God's going to speak beautiful words of queer wisdom to us. Like who's the next person that's going to add such a substantial voice and flavor to what it means to be a queer side B Christian. Like I'm excited. So it's sad, but there's hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel. So
I feel like when, at the very least, when Josh first started this and kind of brought us into it, I was at a stage in my journey where it was like, I need to have conversations with other queer people. I need to be able to talk about certain things. I need to be able to verbally process with other people. I've journaled it to death. I need to have some conversations with other people who are in similar situations, who are going to understand that. And that has been a big thing for me, that all of these things that we've talked about have not only been for other people, they've very much been things that I've needed to process myself. And that's been important, that I've always had you guys there with me to process those things with me, that I've not really had anyone else to go to with, because here in my everyday life, I don't have many to zero people that I can really have these conversations with. So it's been really good for me that I have had y'all for those different things, and for different things that we've talked about, and that's helped me grow over the years.
Well, you still have us. We're still here.
That's right.
Oh yeah, no, you're not getting rid of me. That's for sure. It just won't be scheduled on my calendar.
It won't be. And there's gonna be, y'all know that I'm not getting out of podcasting. You're not gonna get rid of me that easy. I already have projects that those announcements will be coming later on. But yeah, I love, Elizabeth, that you brought up. This is gonna be hard news for listeners. And we want to make space for that this is hard. If you're in a place where you're like, this has been a companion for me. First of all, the episodes we've done are not leaving. They're going to be up.
That's right.
We'll probably at some point release the bonus episodes publicly. Why not add those in there?
Why not?
Yeah.
The bloopers too.
I do want to say, if you are a patron, or so we're going back to the Patreon thing to support for the last season. There are still costs to the last season, so if you're able to help join that, you can go to our website and do that. Those things do help us as we finish this out.
Also, why not now join?
Right.
Because if you were thinking about it, if you're on the fence before, I'm just gonna plug it. Like, why not? Like, help us celebrate at the very end.
Yeah.
Take us home.
We
finish well.
Yes. We are also going to be, as soon as this episode comes up, we will be having a link on our website, lifeonsideb.com/final season, where two things will be available. One, there will be a SpeakPipe, I think it's called SpeakPipe, link where you can record a audio of up to 5 minutes. Please don't completely put it up to 5 minutes unless you have a really big point, because if we have everyone doing 5 minutes,
that's okay. Don't listen to him. Do 5 minutes. Do all of you do 5 minutes?
We'll just make a ton of episodes.
Listen to it.
Well, honestly, what we want is two things. We would love to hear how has Life on Side B impacted you, and even more than that, we would love to hear, what does Life on Side B look like for you? Like, is that poetry that you have written about your life on Side B? Is that something you want to share? Whatever that looks like for you, record it and send it in through there. That will be on that link, which will be in the show notes. But then also, if you go, I'll make sure it's on the main website, but lifeonsideb.com/final season. That will be there. We would love to include that in the final season.
Oh my gosh.
It will actually be in episodes. So the plan will be is that throughout the episodes, we will be, so even now, you can go ahead and send that in. Obviously, I'd actually love for you to do it kind of now, because that gives me time to process where to put this content. And I'll be sharing on social media and stuff if there's a final date of when you have to have that in. But please be sharing that. The other thing that will be on that is how the next season is going to work is it's going to be 8 episodes. Basically, this season is going to be the what we wish we had covered, or like what we want to cover. So the idea is each co-host will pick one topic. And also if you want a guest or whoever to talk about something you either wish we had talked about more, or a topic that we hadn't talked about that you wish we had talked about. And then there will be a 7th episode that you listeners will be able to write in what you wish we could talk about. We'll figure out, if we get a lot of responses on it, or we might put it to a poll then. But on that link, on that webpage, there will be a place also to write in what topic you wish had been covered. And then we'll have our series finale, which will have a lot of things. There will be a lot of old, guests coming back, especially from some of our main episodes. I know Meg Botts, our OG first episode, will definitely have to make an appearance.
Yeah.
Haven't even asked her, but I'm just like, she's going to have to make an appearance.
She'll say yes.
Connection.
I'll make her. I'll put it on her to-do list.
But we'll have some of our guests from the past seasons come back. But here's my question. Do any of you guys know what topic you would like for your episode next season?
I think so.
Yeah. And it's okay if you don't have it figured out yet. You can also brainstorm. What do you think, Ashley?
It's like one that we tried and never made the cut. Every year when we discussed episodes. I can't remember what was the
I think of the boundaries episode.
Yeah, that.
Yes.
We're finally gonna do the boundaries episode.
Yes.
Tell us more. I don't remember the boundaries conversation.
Well, it's just something that's kind of floated around, or different ways we were gonna talk about it, because it was something that I felt in the past that was something that was always at the very least for queer women.
Yeah,
it was always be careful not to get too emotionally attached or not to get too connected.
Emotional dependency.
Yes, that
which
is
are
really
real
big.
things.
Yeah,
very real things that you have to be careful with. But it's not the boogeyman that it was made out to be. So,
exactly.
what would healthy emotional boundaries look like for queer
Love
women
that.
in the side B space?
Yep. Yeah. I think we even talked about doing it this season as we were joking around calling it reclaiming emotional dependency.
I love it. I think it's a great idea, Ashley. I have said to some of my girlfriends before, am I too close to you? And they're like, yes, but who cares? What difference does it make? And I'm like, oh, okay, fine, great.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, I like the it doesn't need to be the boogeyman can we be healthy and also kind of be dependent on each other in a healthy way? Aren't we kind of supposed to a little bit?
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't cut my head off, people. Okay, we're all in agreement over here.
We're all in agreement. We're good.
Her in the comments.
Yeah.
Send your hate mail too.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I'm excited because I hadn't told the co-host yet what topic I wanted, because I was like, I just want to get everyone's initial reactions rather than on the thing. I want to cover polyamory.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
This is going to be wild this season.
Actually, Josh,
he's like, I'm going to wait till the end to say something that could get us canceled.
I was
exactly. There we go.
I was taking a sexuality class, and I take a class with a bunch of student brothers who are studying to become priests, and they live in a religious community together. And I can't remember how this brought up, but I just in class, I raised my hand and said religious community and polyamory are kind of similar. And it was
take.
It was half received well. Yes, I think should definitely do it. You should definitely talk about
I've already decided. That's
wow. Are you gonna have a guest?
That's what I thought. I have no idea. I don't even know who that would be.
Yeah.
He hasn't thought further than that. That's what he had.
I've thought about kind of, if you want to know my thinking behind this.
Yes.
Is I was thinking through what are aspects of queer identity and culture that are growing, that are going to become more prominent in the future, that I wish we will have covered on the forefront of it rather than waiting later on. And
gotcha.
I'm just sorry, like down here, at least, I don't know about y'all.
Oh, but yeah, absolutely.
It's very hard for me to not meet like gay people that are in poly relationships, thruples, open relationships, all of the above.
That's true.
And then obviously there's can talk about within that with side B, especially when you're celibate, what does that look like when you're not going to, when you have friendships, you have deep relationships with multiple people. So anyway, I'm just intrigued, and I kept feeling, I was like, this isn't a topic that may not seem important now, but I feel like having it is important, but I feel like some listeners would see maybe why not. But I'm like, I think it would be good to have before we finish. And I'm willing to deal with
I like that Josh is like, why the hell not, right? What are they going to do? Cancel the podcast?
That's right.
What are you all going to do? Don't listen.
Yeah.
We can all go back and listen to it. Yeah, all of our ignorant hot takes from 2024 when we go back and listen to it later.
This is like what they used to do on... I think they've done this on Twitter several times, but there's been like waves of people just sending out all their drafts just all at once.
Oh, interesting.
That's what we're doing. We're sending out all the drafts.
I love it.
I haven't been on Twitter in months. It's been lovely.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah, y'all heard it. Yeah.
I like it.
Me too. Wow. Me too.
There we go.
I'm not sure yet. But I think my initial thought was I'd really like to spend some more time talking about like how do we share our faith in practical ways with our queer neighbors. Like that's my heart. That's what I do. That's what I care about. Because I think we can get a little trapped, like thinking about ourselves and what does our queerness mean to us. And I think we've finally come to this, a lot of us have come to this place where we see it as such a gift. And I want to like talk more about what does it look like to like give our gift away in many ways. Like, how are we connecting with the broader queer community? How can we do this well? How can we use our queerness as a gift to our queer neighbors to share Jesus? So I'd like to spend an episode on that if we can.
Yeah. No worries. And think about it more. I'm so excited to hear what we end up having. Becca or Gran, any thoughts?
Yeah.
No worries if not.
I was going to say it's a bad first take thought. But I would love for us to have a conversation about like finding a way, especially within side B culture, to continue to have these good conversations without succumbing to like the polarization of the culture that we live in. Like, it's become so, if we have an issue with something, it has to be like an extreme cancel culture thing. Like, how do we make sure that as a people who claim to be living in a tension between these two kind of cultural sections of Christianity and the LGBTQ community, like, we kind of take pride in being in that tension spot. How do we maintain that in how we discuss issues that everyone else in the world is using as like polarizing and dividing? What are ways that we can still have those conversations in a way that is flourishing and lovely and beautiful and and all of those things that are Christ-like, as opposed to just giving into the culture and throwing stones at whoever we want to throw them at. So like, what does that look like to be side B in our debates and conversations?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, not any details, but
that's okay.
That's been like what's weighing on my heart recently.
That's really
you're
good.
gonna get in trouble for that, looking for ways to be lukewarm.
I know, right? It's totally
Send your hate mail to
a lying heretic that now wants to be wishy-washy and lukewarm. So yeah, I'll just add it to the list of adjectives.
Send your hate mail to Life on Side B.
Sure. Honestly,
do it.
I don't know if people hate listen to this podcast, but if you do, I would honestly love for you to send hate mail to us.
Yeah,
I would eat that up. It would be so much fun.
We've only ever gotten like one hate mail, to be honest.
Come on.
And I think it's mostly, I mean, it wasn't even that. It was critiquing an episode, and you could definitely tell. Yeah. And I just, whichever. But like, I feel like we just run under the radar. People just
we
don't
really
listen
do.
to us.
No Great, good, perfect.
Yeah, thank you. See,
we're
and that's why we can
conversation. Yeah, Ashley's right.
Yeah, and that's why we can talk about polyamory.
I'll give my email, and people can send all the hate mail to me.
Yeah.
Did you guys listen to or watch the Theology in the Raw? Preston Sprinkle recently had an episode where he had like some guy who was very opposed.
Oh, I heard about it, but I hadn't listened to it.
I listened to it
like
because
the Southern dude.
Yes,
I'm not going to listen to that.
He has been a thorn in my recovering Southern Baptist side for years. No, it was.
I the whole time was like, no, thank you. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I could not. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't really want to do this.
Yeah.
I listened professionally because I knew that we had been lumped in with the lying heretic. Everybody else is like, "Oh, I wanted to listen to this," and I was like, "Don't waste your time. Don't do it."
I did not listen to it, and I am thankful.
You're good.
Yeah.
Honestly, I barely even knew what it was until I saw people talking about it online. I'm like, what? What's happening? What's going on?
There was.
Yeah. So
let's just not do that episode. Is what I'm requesting. If we get the hate mail, that's fine.
I can say now that there was a time when I wanted us to have a season where we called it Conversations with People Who Hate Us. And we had like Rosaria Butterfield, who like would never come
I don't
on.
know about having them on the podcast, but I've said several times, I'm like, okay, let's, take the meat and pick out the bones. Like, okay, let's take this, giant scathing comment that they've been like, like we said, I think it was something you said in the last episode, and Henry said it, you were like, look, we're not saying this doesn't happen, okay?
Yeah.
But
calm
down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's our problem, not yours.
Grant, did you have any ideas for your episode?
I'm not sure if I have a solid plan or idea yet, but something that's rattling around in my brain is like, what are the like fundamental lessons about the spiritual life that I've learned that have helped me as a side B person grow in my faith? What are the few guiding principles that have been the source of a lot of my spiritual growth over the past few years as a part of this podcast and in my daily life? So I'm thinking about a few of those key lessons, and I'd love to chat about some of those ideas. But
I love it.
I was like, Grant's gonna have half an idea and it's gonna be super deep.
It's good.
Yeah. Moving a little bit back, Ashley, since you didn't get to share before, wanted to hear if you had any thoughts you wanted to share about this past season really quickly. I wanted to give space for that.
I feel like I don't know how we do the same amount of episodes every season, but this year I felt like it almost felt like we did a lot less. Maybe it's just because of the order we recorded them in or how we did them. I don't know.
Wow,
we
you
did
did
actually
Just
lot
kinda-
less. We did.
We did? Okay.
This was our shortest season.
Okay. How many did we do?
17. It's 2 less
Okay,
than
then yeah.
season 1.
Okay, then yeah. But at the same time, like I said, I feel like this season we had a lot of really good episodes. Everyone loved those that theology arch that we did. That was like that one kind of surprised us all. Like we didn't know what was gonna come with that, and it came out great.
How did you feel with being prayed over in an episode? Because that was an interesting thing for you and me, getting prayed over.
It was fun. Like
Janelle,
I said, that was not really nothing odd.
Yeah. It was fun to edit that because I had to edit out so much like empty space during the listening of it.
Empty space and then filled space.
And then filled space with the mascot in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Janelle's praying for Josh, and Israel just like barges in to the closet, knocks over a box of toys, grabs the microphone.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My favorite mascot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Turned 3 yesterday.
Oh. Wow. I
That's
know you've had a baby on this podcast. Crazy.
Yeah.
That is quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember in 2020 when she was announcing that she was pregnant?
Wow.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The things that have happened on this podcast. I wish I could actually have the time to do it, but one thing I wish I could do, it will not happen. So everyone, all listeners, lower your expectations.
Don't get excited.
I wish I could go back through all of the recordings and get out the bloopers and like put those together, because we've had some great bloopers.
You don't have to do all of them, but do a blooper.
We could do a season of bloopers.
It's just so hard.
Yeah, we could do a whole season of bloopers.
It would require going all the way back through and listening. And I'm like, I've thought of it, and I was like, no.
Yeah, that's fair.
No.
It would be hilarious though.
In heaven.
Yeah. In heaven. Yeah. Yeah.
Just keep the recording somewhere. When we're old, we'll go through it.
We will.
That's right.
Yeah. Great. Well, this has been an amazing conversation, y'all. And I just want to say, with all the listeners, we are here with you. We mourn with you. We're excited also for what comes in the future, because at the end of one season is the beginning of a new season. And I think that being able to open it up, and we'll talk about this obviously as we go on in season 6, but I think one of the other things I'm going to finally say on this that I've enjoyed, and perfect timing, Henry. We were literally about to end.
Yes, this is it.
I just read your text. We just got back.
Perfect timing. We were just finishing up. Henry, do you have an idea what you want your episode of season 6 to be? Yeah, we did.
Announced it? Oh, so
we announced it.
Okay. I thought about it today, and that made me a little sad. And so actually, I'm about to probably start crying just even think about it. I thought about it today, and I was like, you know what I would want, because like I figured when you said 6, it means we're all gonna do one, and then solo, and then I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to spend 20 minutes with each one of y'all, and giving you y'all's flowers about my favorite moments with y'all, and then asking y'all 4 questions each, because 4 is my favorite. So
that is so good.
I am gonna cry.
Okay.
So yeah, that is what I want to do with my last episode.
Oh my God.
I love you so much.
He's here like giving everyone their flowers, and I'm like, I want to talk about polyamory.
No. I think honestly that because like since you already announced it, but everybody will hear it. But like this has been. I was thinking about it today when I was driving to work. First of all, I was thinking about it the other day when Josh texted me. He's like, "Hey, like you need to fill out the time, or like, can you tell me what time you can come?" And my response was like, "Just pick a time, I'll make it work." And then he put it on my calendar.
Yeah,
I think I gave him access to that like a couple years ago, so Josh can just put things on my calendar. And so I went to look if I was free. I was like, "Oh, it's already on my calendar." He's like, "I put it in." I was like, "Great," but and so I was thinking about it when I was driving to work this morning, and I was like, this is by the time we end this next year, it would have been 5 years of my life
Yeah.
that I've been 5 or 6 years. It's like, that's half a decade. That, especially me, Beck, and Grant, and then even Ashley, but Elizabeth, that would have been 3 years of your life. That's like a really significant chunk of time. And we've all gone through so much, and the country has gone through so much. The sexuality conversation has gone through so much. The American church has gone through so much. I mean, Elizabeth, like, you got introduced to this world whenever it was Revoice 2020. And like, we connected that way through me talking. So it's just like, there's so much I want to ask y'all about the past 3-4 years that we've gone through together that I'm like, I feel would be really impactful. And I got really emotional driving to work this morning. I was like, oh my God, it's like as one friend said, it's the end of an era. It's like, it's the end of an era.
Yeah,
it is.
But so I'm looking forward to that conversation. And y'all know I'm going to bring it.
That's good.
Y'all know I'm going to bring it.
Yeah.
But expect nothing
Oh,
less.
Grant, look at the creep baby. Don't cry, Grant.
That's just really
I mean,
sweet.
you'll get to stack chairs. For me.
You were talking about world events, and all I can ever think about is how Grant and I were recording an episode the moment that January 6th was happening.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That's all I can ever think about now with world events that happened during this
walked
podcast.
out and I thought, and I was looking at the news and I was like, guys, do you know what's happening to my coworkers? And they were like, yeah, this is wild.
Insane. Okay. Yeah. But I'm just excited to see what doors this opens for more Life on Side B voices, like, you know, just Side B voices and everything, and going forward.
And I mean, also, so real quick, Josh, because you had said, like, whenever you and I side texting about that one time, like, doesn't mean like it's the end of this chapter, but like, there's no way all 6 of us are going to still collaborate.
Exactly.
100%. Yes. There will be, and this is something for you all to think about for the next season. Like, it doesn't have to be podcasts, but like, we're all going to be doing things beyond this podcast. So like, want to be able, as we go forward, to share where can everyone hear from us? Like, where can people see your work? You know, sharing about, you know, all of that stuff as we go forward. And also wanting to get, I want to figure out a way in the last season to work in some of these new voices that have appeared, like the Communion and Shalom podcast, and like some of these things that are now continuing some of the different work to create this content as well.
I bet they'd want to talk about polyamory, so there you go.
I have a feeling not.
So much shade.
Well, on that note, everyone, thank you so much for listening. We've gotten through 5 seasons. We have another one coming. Remember, go to lifeonsideb.com/ final season and upload your side B life. What does life on side B look like for you? Share how the podcast has impacted you. Share poetry, share thoughts, share all of these things. And we would like to include it in the last final season.
Yes.
And also share your thoughts on what extra topics should be added. And on that, I'm glad we're all ending, all 6 of us together. This is the perfect way to end the season.
I love it.
Oh, why am I getting emotional?
All right.
It's not the end yet.
It's not the end. It's not the end. I am going to cry that final episode. Yes. Okay.
Wow.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I love you.